Okay, so this video is how to design a puzzle part in Onshape. As an example, I'm going to be designing the upper left-hand corner of this puzzle piece that forms the letter D. You can see what that part looks like right here on the multi-view of that part. So the idea is if you look from the top or the right, more clearly from the top, or the isometric, you can see there are two layers. There's like a base layer, and then there's a layer that pops out. Actually, maybe the front view is the best view to see that on. The shaded area extends towards the observer in the direction of the front view. So we're going to create that base layer and then create the raised surface that's shaded. So if I look, I can see the overall width is about 5 squares and the overall height is 5 squares. So that's going to be 1.25 by 1.25 inches overall. Well, let's just start designing this shape. Here we go. Let's open up Onshape, and I'm going to hit the plus sign and title it A Hebert. Right, we want to title that makes sense. Top left puzzle part. Okay. Great. So let's go ahead and start designing this. So we'll select the front plane, and then I'll tap the screen with 2 fingers, view normal to, then grab my pencil tool, and I want the line tool. Now I'm going to press and hold the screen until I get my plus sign. I'm going to drag it in until it reaches the origin and release. Then I press and hold the screen again, and I just start drawing my puzzle. And I release, press and hold, release, press and hold, release, press and hold, etc., etc. And you keep doing this over and over and over. I know there was a part that sticks out to the right, and I know there's also a part that goes down. So I'm just doing a rough sketch, making sure my lines are vertical and horizontal. Let's go back and take a look at that part. All right, so I know the overall width was 5 squares. That's 1.25 inches. Let's put that dimension on the shape. I deselect my line tool, and I grab my dimension tool. I click on a point on the left side and a point on the right side, and I drag up. That's my biggest horizontal dimension showing the width of the shape, and I write 1.25. The really cool thing when I hit check is that it rescales the whole shape, so it still maintains the overall pattern. All right, let's start throwing in some other horizontal dimensions from left to right. I'm just tapping those points, and that is 1.0. Okay, 4 squares. Now, if you notice, it didn't move the points below. If I want, I could say I need this point and this point to line up vertically, right? Oops, it started to dimension it. Let's turn off that dimension tool. If I click those 2 points and I want them to line up vertically, I can go to my pencil tool and select vertical. Okay. Now notice both of those lines are black now, and they're lined up. Black meaning they've been dimensioned. They're located. All right, so horizontally I still need to dimension. I turn my dimension tool back on, and I say from this point to this one is, I think it's 0.5. Let's count the number of squares. Let's go back to the drawing. Yeah, 2 squares and then 1 square. So let's go back to Onshape. So 2 squares would be 0.5. Check. And then deselect that. And that little dimension right there is 0.25. I'm tapping on the dimension, the number itself, in order to change it. So all my vertical lines are black. So they've been fully dimensioned, right? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertical lines and 4 horizontal dimensions to go with them. Now let's turn the horizontal lines blue. So let's go from top to bottom and make that 1.25 because it's 5 squares. Okay, now let's go from top to this corner and make that 1.0 because I know it's 4 squares. Now let's double check our design. Looks like I have to go down 2 squares from the right until that little piece juts out. So the dimension from this top corner to this one is actually, I gotta drag that to the right location, it's actually 0.5. And that pushes it down. And that means, now it kind of flip-flopped on me. The dimension for this is actually the bottom edge is actually going to be 0.75. 3 squares down. All right, that looks good. So notice my shape is completely black, which means that all the lines have length and they all have location. They're in specific spots. All right, once I'm done dimensioning my lines, I hit check, and I have a sketch on the front plane that has been dimensioned. I'm ready to make it 3D, so I click on the little sphere and hit extrude. I need to select my shape. Now the default is 1 inch. We can click on 1 inch and change it to 0.25. That's going to be the thickness of 1 cube, and I hit check. So now at this point I have the base layer, all right? But now I need to draw the raised surface, right? That little shaded area. So I'm going to sketch right on my raised surface. So you grab my pencil tool, and it says select a plane or a face or surface. I click right on the front of my surface, and if you notice, it just created a plane on the front surface. Yeah, I'm gonna double tap, tap my, not double tap, I'm gonna tap my screen with 2 fingers at the same time, and I get this menu, and I say view normal to sketch plane. Grab my line tool, and I press and hold the screen, and I get the dot, I release, press and hold again, and I want a vertical line, and I want it to line up with, well, let's take a look at our drawing. Let's double check. Oh, it goes up 4 squares and then comes over and then down. Okay, so let's go back to our shape. So I didn't extend that quite far enough. So I have my line tool on. I'm going to deselect it. I'm going to see if I can just drag. I can't really, oh, there we go. I just tap it and then I can drag it. Okay, tap it and then I can drag it. Now I turn my line tool back on, press and hold the screen, and I finish drawing my lines. Okay, so I made a complete path. You probably can see that one of my lines is not vertical, all right? So let's make that line vertical. Deselect my line tool. I go into, I'm talking about this line right here, right? Go into my pencil tool and hit vertical. Now it's black, it's lined up with the edge below, okay? And everything is black because it's aligned with the piece below, except for this blue line. So I need a dimension on this blue line. So I go to my dimension tool, and I say from this corner to this corner, it was 4 squares, so that's 1 inch. Okay, now notice all the lines are black. It's constrained because Onshape kind of senses what you're doing and it aligns it with the piece below. Sometimes you don't want that to happen, but in this case we like the alignment. We hit the check mark, and now we just have to extrude the raised surface. So we select the sphere, hit extrude, and then tap on that raised surface. Again, the default is 1 inch. Let's change that to 0.25, and then hit the check mark, and we're done. And that piece, if we tap on the cube, we can hit isometric, right? So that's our isometric view. It should look exactly the same as what we have right here. So there's the drawing, and here's the Onshape sketch. There you go. All right, if you want to change the color and have fun with it, click on the 3 dots, click Appearance, and you can make it any color Any color. Ooh, I kind of like that purple. Any color you want. Isometric. There you go. There's your shape.